This girl was born with green skin and wanted to do good, but the world turned her into a monster that everyone came to hate. You won't believe what happened next. The residents of a small village received joyful news. The Wicked Witch of the West, who had caused them so much trouble, has recently died. They celebrate, shouting, running around, dancing and laughing with happiness. At last, peace and quiet have come. Soon, a good fairy named Glinda flies into the village. She is a young beauty in a pink dress, holding a magical wand and wearing a crown on her head. She confirms that the Wicked Witch of the West is truly dead. The people throw a big party to celebrate this wonderful event. Suddenly, a little girl asks Glinda how witches are born and why they are so evil. The fairy tells the girl a story. The governor's wife didn't love her husband and preferred to spend time with other men. She soon became pregnant and gave birth to a baby. Not an ordinary child, but a green one. When the baby cried, many objects flew up into the air. The baby girl was raised by a bear nanny. The green-skinned girl was given the name Elphaba. The other children constantly teased her. At such times, she would get angry, and various objects would rise into the air once again. Elphaba had a sister named Nessaros, a beautiful but paralyzed girl. The protagonist loved her very much. Glinda admits that she knew Elphaba well. It turns out they met at the university. Glinda came there to study, while Elphaba came to accompany her sister, Nessaros. People looked at the green-skinned girl as if she were a monster. Glinda and Elphaba disliked each other from the very first moment. The Dean of Sorcery Studies, Madame Morrible, gave a welcoming speech. She was one of the few people in the world who truly knew how to wield magic. When everyone learned that Nessaros was the governor's daughter, they began to treat her with special respect. Elphaba didn't like this at all. She became so angry that she stopped Rose's wheelchair with the power of her mind. After that, many objects once again rose into the air. Real chaos broke out. Madame Morrible noticed this and realized that Elphaba had magical abilities. So that the other students wouldn't attack Elphaba out of fear, she pretended that it had been her own magic and invited the green-skinned protagonist to join her magic course. Madame Morrible learned that Elphaba had possessed magic since birth, but couldn't control her power. The woman announced that she would personally train Elphaba. The girl was overjoyed, because this had been her greatest dream. Glinda and Elphaba shared the same room. The self-absorbed blonde had scattered her belongings everywhere and left almost no space for her roommate. When Elphaba started to tidy up, Glinda tried to stop her. The protagonist became very angry and even shattered glass using magic. That night, the girls continued to argue and fight. After learning about it, other students organized a support group for Glinda. Almost everyone took the blonde's side, and Elphaba was left completely alone. The students mocked her, teased her, and avoided talking to her. She was ignored in the cafeteria and openly mocked in class. One day, Professor Dilliman came to class. He wasn't a human, but a goat. He told the students that long ago, humans and animals lived in harmony. But then hard times came, and food became scarce. Humans began hunting animals to survive, and eventually decided to make them slaves. Professor Dilliman was deeply disturbed by the fact that people still treat animals with contempt. Elphaba could completely relate to him, since she had spent her entire life feeling helpless and ashamed. For this reason, she and the professor quickly became friends. Madame Morrible soon started Elphaba's training. She taught the girl how to control her magical abilities. Elphaba was able to move objects with magic, but whenever anger took hold of her, everything began to fall apart. However, Madame Morrible never scolded her student for her failures. One evening, Elphaba accidentally overheard Professor Dilliman talking with other animals. The professor was certain that he had to quit the university because one day people would exterminate all animals. Elphaba wanted to help her beloved teacher. The problem was that for some reason, many of the animals had begun to lose their ability to communicate in the human language. As Elphaba was heading back, she accidentally ran into a young man in the forest who was riding a talking horse. It turned out to be Prince Fiyero. They immediately began to argue but the prince was intrigued by the green-skinned stranger. She was very smart and completely unlike other girls. The university students learned about the prince's arrival and became very excited. He would be studying alongside them. Glinda put on her very best outfit to impress him. The prince was drawn to her beauty and popularity, so they took a tour of the library together. Fiyero saw Elphaba there, but she didn't pay him any attention. The prince admitted that he loved breaking the rules. To prove it, he put on a real performance in the library, with singing and dancing, stomping on books, and jumping across the bookshelves. One of the students invited Glinda to the ball, but the girl asked her admirer to attend the ball not with her, but with Nessarose instead. Elphaba was quite concerned when she heard about it. She suspected that Glinda had come up with some kind of devious plan. However, Nessarose didn't want to listen to her sister since she had dreamed of going to the ball for so long. Glinda's friends found a strange hat in her closet. It looked very ridiculous. The cunning blonde invited Elphaba to the ball and gave her this ugly hat as a gift. Elphaba didn't suspect it was a prank, so she put on Glinda's gift and went to the ball. That evening, everyone was having fun and dancing. Nessarose felt incredibly happy. Glinda and the prince looked like the perfect couple. Suddenly, Madame Morrible appeared at the ball, gave Glinda a magic wand, and invited her to join her magic course. It turned out that she had done this at Elphaba's request. Soon, the green-skinned protagonist arrived at the ball wearing the silly hat. Everyone immediately started laughing at her. The girl was deeply hurt. She took the hat off her head and threw it onto the floor. Elphaba was left alone, but she decided not to leave and began dancing by herself. Her clumsy movements only caused even more laughter. Glinda felt shame and guilt. She realized that she had behaved terribly. Wanting to make things right, Glinda walked up to Elphaba and joined her dance, copying her movements. Soon after, all the students began to imitate Elphaba, and the mockery turned into shared fun. For the first time in her life, the protagonist didn't feel alone that night. All the hurt was left in the past. When the girls returned to their room, Glinda confessed that she and the prince would soon be getting married. In response, Elphaba shared her secret. She always kept a small green bottle under her pillow. It had belonged to her mother. The truth was that after Elphaba's birth, the governor constantly forced his wife to take special herbs so that the next child would be normal. Yes, Nessarose was born with a normal skin color, but her legs were paralyzed because of those herbs. Soon, Elphaba's mother passed away. The girl blamed herself for this. She believed that if she had been born normal, her mother would still be alive, and her sister would be healthy. Glinda tried to comfort her friend and suggested transforming her appearance. She changed Elphaba's outfit and hairstyle, adorning her hair with a lovely pink flower. Unfortunately, a terrible thing happened shortly after. The university expelled all of its animal professors, including Professor Dillamond. Elphaba lost her close friend and could do nothing about it. But even worse, news awaited her. Professor Dillamond's position was filled by a new teacher. He hated animals so much that he showed the students a lion cub locked in a cage. The new professor wanted to prove that all animals should live in captivity, like slaves. Elphaba was furious. Her anger was so strong that all the objects around her rose into the air, and the professor and students lost consciousness, all except the prince. Elphaba and Fiyero decided to free the lion cub. They cycled into the forest together. In the meantime, Mrs. Morrible showed up in the classroom. When she noticed that everyone had passed out, she knew that Elphaba was to blame. The dean then wrote a letter to the wonderful wizard, revealing the power of her student. Elphaba released the lion cub and resumed arguing with the prince. He was furious and wanted to flee, but Elphaba grabbed his hand. The girl realized that she had fallen in love, yet she knew that she and Fiyero could never be together. The next day, Elphaba received unexpected news. She was invited by the wonderful Wizard of Oz himself. He wanted to meet this talented young woman in person. A beautiful green train was sent to pick Elphaba up for the meeting. Before the girl's departure, all the students came to bid her farewell. Glinda admitted that her relationship with the prince had worsened. He had become too thoughtful and irritable. Soon, the prince himself appeared and gave Elphaba a flower for good luck. As the train began to move, Glinda handed Elphaba a letter in which she confessed that she also dreamed of meeting the wizard. In an attempt to cheer up her friend, Elphaba reached out and dragged Glinda along on the train. After some time, they finally arrived in the Emerald City. The girls were greeted by bright lights and festive dances. The wonderful wizard appeared to have prepared a true magical spectacle for his visitors. Soon after, Elphaba and Glinda were invited into the wizard's palace. Despite his power and mystery, he looked like an ordinary man. The wizard showed the girls a model of the Emerald City, created according to his design. In the future, it was meant to become even more magnificent. Elphaba suggested painting the roads yellow so they would glow like golden threads. The wizard approved her idea and instantly brought it to life. After that, he showed Elphaba a small figurine that looked just like her. She might become the city's ruler one day. However, Elphaba was not interested in power. She had come to the wizard to help the animals. In the middle of this discussion, Madame Morrible showed up. Elphaba was overjoyed to see the dean and gave her a warm hug. Once again, the girl shared her greatest dream. She wanted to save the animals and restore their freedom. Elphaba was shown the magical book, the Grimoire, and was asked to read a spell from it. The wizard explained that one of his monkeys dreamed of learning to fly. The magical book opened by itself to the right page. Elphaba began to read the spell, speaking many mysterious ancient words. The spell worked. Real wings grew on the monkey's back. However, joy quickly turned into horror. The monkey was in terrible pain. Feathers began to grow all over its body, causing it unbearable suffering. When Elphaba went outside, she witnessed a horrifying sight. An entire army of monkeys was suffering in terrible pain as wings were growing from their backs. The wizard and Madame Morrible were delighted. It turned out that they had dreamed of creating an army of spies, and now they had succeeded. That was when Elphaba realized the truth. The wizard and Madame Morrible had lured her into a trap. They hated animals and wanted to turn them into slaves, and now they had achieved their goal using her magic. The truth was that the wizard himself had no magical powers at all. Elphaba was horrified. She had wanted to help the animals, but instead she had caused them suffering. Realizing she had been betrayed, the girl grabbed the magical book and ran out of the palace. Madame Morrible ordered Glinda to bring Elphaba back to the palace, promising to teach her how to use magic in return. Glinda agreed and went after Elphaba. At Madame Morrible's command, the winged monkeys also started pursuing Elphaba. The wizard's personal guards joined the chase as well. Glinda caught up with Elphaba and tried to convince her to come back. Elphaba couldn't forgive the betrayal. She reached a room where a large hot air balloon was kept and decided to escape in it. Glinda flew away with her friend. Unfortunately, as the girls rose in the air, the palace roof abruptly closed. The balloon struck it and burst, causing a fire. Elphaba and Glinda fell into an enclosed chamber. Madame Morrible spread false news throughout the entire university. She branded Elphaba as an evil witch, a thief, and the greatest enemy of animals. People immediately turned against her. Elphaba and Glinda heard the announcement as well. Glinda suggested that her friend go back, admit her mistake, and ask for forgiveness. But for Elphaba, there was no way back. She had been betrayed, used, and humiliated. Now she was ready to accept her fate. The girl opened the magical book and began to read another spell. She sprang onto a summoned magical broom and jumped out of the window. Neither the wizard's guards nor the winged monkeys were able to catch her. Elphaba hid in the mountains because she no longer trusted anyone. When Madame Morrible realized she wouldn't be able to capture Elphaba, she decided to train Glinda instead. The girl gladly accepted the offer. Elphaba saw that Glinda had joined her enemies. This betrayal completely shattered her heart. Elphaba cursed the Emerald City. "May darkness consume you. May your hearts remain as black as your deeds." No one is born evil. Only the cruelty and betrayal of others can turn a person into a monster. Now we finally understand why the villagers were so happy about Elphaba's death. With her gone, the curse disappeared, bringing light and joy back to the Emerald City.